All back everything. Haven't been in a while. Missed you. May y'all be doing well. Let's go. He's back with Death of the West. Patrick J. Buchanan. Mm-hmm. Remember we left off. We on chapter 3. Catechism of Revolution. Of a Revolution. Boom. And we back with the cancer of human history. Uh, I do not own rights to this music, but it's banging. Shout out to the brothers in Ghana, all over Africa doing their thing, man. Hey, I'm represented. But we back. Here we go. Like it, subscribe it, share, do all that, please. If you like the content. Here we go. The cancer of human history. But a religion needs devils as well as angels. As much as of what the new faith teaches stems from a hatred of what it views as a shameful, wicked, criminal past. Tell the truth. To the revolution, Western history is a catalog of crimes, slavery, genocide, colonialism, imperialism, atrocities, massacres committed by nations that profess to be Christian. The white race is the cancer of human history. Quote, wrote Susan Sontag, a birth mother of the revolution in 1967. Quote, the white race and it alone eradicates autonomous civilizations wherever it spreads, end quote. That's coming from Suzanne Sontag, one of your own commentary. See, I'm not saying this, I'm just relaying this. Let's get it right. She says also, America was founded on a genocide. This is a passionately racist country. The truth is that Mozart, Pascal, Boolean, algebra, Shakespeare, preliminary government, Baruch, churches, Newton, the emancipation of women, Kant, Marx, and the Belancian ballads don't redeem what this particular civilization has wrought upon the world. Not at all. Like Rubashov in Darkness at Noon, our elites have come to accept Sontag's indictment of their civilization and have volunteered pro bono to assist the prosecution in making its case. If many Americans look back on their history with disgust, who can blame them? For as Myron Magnet writes in The Dream and Nightmare, campus after campus has jettisoned traditional Western civilization, great books and great ideas, courses, and obsolete. An alternative, an alternative canon supposed to be adequate to the new reality emerged. Paul Goodman, Norman O. Brown, Herbert Marcuse, Franz Fanon, Michael Foucault, James Baldwin, Malcolm X. Later, even the lyrics of Bob Dylan shouldered a Plato and Montague. I think that's how he said it. The relevant message was Western society's oppressiveness, stifling the instinctual satisfactions for the privileged, and tyrannically exploiting the poor and non-white at home and in the third world. So this is not no fantasy. This is not no illusion. This is something that actually is, taking place. Let's get that right. Let's know the difference, distinction. Do your own research. Don't take my word for it because I ain't, what I'm saying? It's just knowledge. It ain't mine. And it says, continues on, what was novelist James Baldwin's view of his country at the end of his life? There is not an American history, he wrote, nor is there now a single American institution which is not a racial institution. In her to The political history of the United States is in large measure a history of almost unthinkable brutality towards slaves, genocidal hatred of Native Americans, racial devaluation of non-whites and non-white cultures, sexual devaluation of women. Deconstructionalist Jonathan Kohler says that the Bible must be understood, quote, not as poetry or narrative, but as a powerfully influential racist and sexist text, end quote. Such sentiments are no longer rarities, but more and more the rule in higher education in the United States. In 1990, Tulane announced a new program, quote, Initiatives for the Race and Gender Enrichment of Tulane University, end quote. University President Iman Kelly explained the urgency. Quote, racism and sexism are pervasive in America and are fundamentally represented in all American institutions. We are all the progeny of a racist and sexist America, end quote. A recent New York State Regents report on the curriculum reform underscores the need for a fresh look at American history. Quote, African Americans, Asians Americans, Puerto Ricans / Latinos, and Native Americans have all been victims of a cultural oppression and stereotyping that has characterized institutions of the European American world for centuries, end quote. Hey, truth is true. You can be scared of it, you can run from it, you can not like it, but it's still gonna be the truth no matter what. So go ahead and get it right so we can get it right. And continues on. This is the message children receive in college, even in high school. Europeans and Americans are guilty of genocide against the native peoples of this continent. Our ancestors transported millions of Africans in death ships to the New World, enslaved them to do the hard labor that our forefathers would not do, and maimed and killed millions. Europe's nations imposed racist regimes on peoples of color, especially in Africa, and robbed them of their wealth. Christianity coexisted with the condoned slavery, imperialism, racism, and sexism for 400 years. Quote, after such knowledge and what forgiveness, asked the old members charged with being racist, murderers of Indians, representatives of class and interests, end quote, wrote Alan Bloom in The Closing of American Truth or Superiority of American Principles and our heroes, excuse me. Indeed they are, for that is their purpose. So it's working. Before the bar of history, America and the West have been indicted on the Nuremberg charge of crimes against humanity. Say that again, for real. Uh, and all too often, Western intellectuals who should be conducting the defense of the greatest and most beneficent civilization in history are aiding the prosecution or entering a plea of nolo contendere. Too many can only offer the stammering defense of good Germans, but we did not know. And it continues in moving this indictment, the revolution has complementary goals to deepen a sense of guilt, to morally disarm and paralyze the West, and to extract endless apologies and reparations until the wealth of the West is transferred to its ancestors. It is moral extortion of epic proportions, come with shakedown of the millennium. If the West permits its enemies to pull this off, we deserve to be robbed of our inheritance. Why are so many Western leaders unable to refute the accusations? Because in their hearts, Clinton, Johnson, and Schroeder believe that the charges are true and that the West is guilty. Why else would Mr. Clinton have traveled to Africa to apologize for slavery to the heirs of the tribal chiefs who captured and sold the slaves? Slavery existed even before Arkansas, or Arkansas, like I used to say, Arkansas. And the West did not invent slavery, the West ended slavery. In the Catechism of the Revolution, why did the West perpetuate history's greatest horrors? Because Western nations believed that their civilization and culture were superior and that they had the right to impose their rule on inferior civilizations, cultures, and peoples. Hmm. I see. This is the radix malorum, the root of all evil, the belief that one culture is superior to another, which leads to the murder of the other. Eradication of the idea of superior cultures and civilizations is thus a first order of business of the revolution. Equality is the first principle. Who sins against equality is extra ecclesiasm, ecclesium, outside the church. In the new dispensation, no religion is superior, no culture is superior. Prior to prayerfully, are headed for. Logically, it follows that any candidate who would rally in a constituency on the idea that Western civilization and culture are superior and Christianity is the one true faith is a heresy. Black love, power.